Thanks for having me, fellas. Appreciate it. Thank you.
What is the feeling of a pitching coach when he watches his guys throw a no-hitter?
I think it's, for me, it's nothing changes. From the first inning on, if you happen to run into a no-hitter, there's got to be some things that go your way defensively, offensively, on the mound. And I tell you what, but when you get there in that last inning, I've seen enough of them, Scott and Evan. I've seen enough no-hitters in my life to know that you don't hold your breath. And because I would say obviously the majority of them get busted up in the ninth inning, man. So it's one of those deals where you stay even kill, and even with the first out, you're still not out of the woods. Even after that second out, once you get to that second out in that ninth inning, that's when I'm kind of like, come on, let's do it. Let's go ahead and get this no-no, So it was great. I was happy for those kids. What a great experience. What a huge team win. And we needed it. We needed it. We've gone through some rough patches, and the way the kids pitched this weekend, it was good. It was good.
Now, Riley Gowans told us post-game, he soldiered up and said he was fine being pulled after the seventh inning. He was up at 95 pitches 3 times through the order.
Right.
But do you give any second thoughts to that because it's a no-no?
No, not one bit, man. To me, and it's tough because kids can get worn out. Kids can, kids get hurt. It's athletics. Everybody gets hurt. But I tell you what, when it comes to, and I'm sure there's probably even been times with our own coaching staff that maybe sometimes you could say that, am I pulling him early? Should we run him back out there? Should we, And I tell you what, with Riley and what he's gone through and as much experience and that he's gained and improvement that he's done, that's when you got to be careful with the greed, man. Coaches got to be careful about being greedy, letting that kid get up to 110, 115, and not think about what all he's been. It's hard. It's hard to do that because everybody wants to win, everybody wants a no-hitter, and not at all. As a matter of fact, just him going out there for the seventh, he was on a short leash, and he knew it, man. He had one of his best innings in the seventh, so I barely let him go out for the seventh because we're going to put the kid's health, well-being in front of most of those things most of the time.
And Riley is a Tommy John guy as well, and he's pitching for the first time in college ball with 2 seasons on the shelf because of injury. We're talking with Mark Allen, Illini pitching coach. Illinois threw a no-hitter on Sunday.
Hey, Mark, this is Evan. You guys were facing a team for the 5th time in less than a week. Does the advantage go to a hitter or a pitcher? It seems like it went to a pitcher in this scenario, but is that how it usually plays out whenever you see somebody, often over a short period of time?
I mean, the more you get looks at anybody, whether it's pitchers getting looks at the hitters or hitters getting looks at the pitchers, the more looks you have at anybody, the more familiar you're going to be with them. So, and it's hard, Evan. It is extremely hard to sweep a team 3 games, and it's even harder to sweep a team 4 teams, whether they're facing the same guys or not, just by the law of numbers in baseball. But I'll tell you this, going in there after we had faced Purdue at home the weekend before, those guys rolled all of us. They rolled us and Michigan State. They swept that weekend 4-0, so they were hot. And so when we were rolling in there, I was thinking to myself, all right, we got to kind of have some things play out, go our way, and it's all about setting that tone. And that's where it goes back to Hoff, because if we look at that whole weekend, Hoff had a one-hitter. Kirsch and Hoff had a one-hitter going into the 8th, going into the 9th, I believe, maybe a 2-hitter. So that tone was set pretty early, and we got off on the right foot. Now, they did get it going there at the end of that first game, but then the next day, Lavy set the tone again and kind of got him going again, and he had a no-no into the 6th. So there was kind of some of this brewing. So whatever we were doing and the way our kids pitched, they were throwing a stick in the spokes of those hitters early in games. And then it was just a matter of extending it in that last game, and we were able to do it. But I tell you what, man, Purdue's a tough team, man. Tough team. So, They got weapons.
And it was a good weekend overall, as you're mentioning here, for your pitchers, and we know how unpredictable baseball is. So was there a point where you felt like they could finish off the no-hitter on Sunday, or was it just kind of like you were saying, just holding on to the edge of your seat and seeing how it played out?
Yeah, no, the most important thing in that situation, the no-hitter itself, that is icing on the cake. That's just a huge, massive historical bonus is what that is. The most important thing is that dadgum scoreboard, and it was 0-0. And we were prepared to go as long as we had to go for the win, because the longer that game goes, the more you're getting out of no-hit country. And so I don't know, man. I would say that I would say it's about the win. And in matching them pitch for pitch. If they throw up a donut, we got to throw up a donut. And I'll tell you one other thing. I do want to hit on this because sometimes this gets left out. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm just going off here. But
it's all good.
We love it.
I think it's important. Okay, it's important, though. Our hitters, these guys have pretty much been the lifeblood for us this year. And these guys have come back. They've put up numbers. They have carried the load for us. There is no doubt. Now, we got young pitchers. We got a young group, and these guys are taking some bumps and bruises. But one thing is for sure, you cannot pitch get the results that we got pitching, and whether it's the no-hitter or all weekend or the starters or whatever, without some nasty defense, man. And we have played pretty good defense, man. And if anybody got to see those games, Comia was nasty all series, man. He made some serious plays. We had some big plays in the outfield. We had some quick reaction line drives caught that could have been huge backbreakers in a 0-0 game. And not only is it offense and pitching, that's what a lot of people think, but I tell you what, that defense was solid as a rock, man. Solid as a rock for us.
And having watched it too, I've always, a no-hitter is a team thing, even though it's going,
no doubt.
It goes to the pitcher. But sometimes you got a guy that's just going out there and just shoving, right? And it's like, okay, boys, we only need one today because I'm on. But that was some. First of all, the bunt attempt by I forget the player now, but there was the bunt attempt that Riley went and got that ball, and the presence of mind of Kellen Sarver just to stay put at first base, how everybody realized this was the one shot we have. That was incredible to me. And then that double play, that seemed like pure instinct, because Dan said he'd never seen that play, and Dan's seen a few ball games now. And he'd never seen a 2-3-1 double play on a drop third strike.
No. Yeah, I haven't either. And I tell you what, the thing with Sarver, though, man, this is one thing that I love that Coach Chris and Coach Courtwright and the Hefe, they push, is communication, and the more those guys are together and the more they communicate, the more you don't have to speak, and now you go between instincts. So, for example, Sarver said in the dugout, he said, I knew the way that ball was hit that I had to stay home. But he also had the presence of mind to know that it was Riley pitching, and Riley can actually cover some ground. Now he's also a right-handed pitcher. So that means that when he throws, if he's going to peel off after he throws a ball, he's going to peel off to the right-hand side or the left-hand side towards the first baseline. So there's some secondary knowledge in there that you only know by being aware of how a ball's hit, the finer aspect of just how hard is a ball hit. I have no shot. If I leave my position and Sarver tries to go tag that cat, Riley don't have enough time to get to first base, and your second baseman doesn't have enough time to get to first base, so the dude's safe. So that's some instinctive, reactionary, knowing your personnel and the players knowing each other. That's some of that going on there too, man. It's kind of the game inside the game.
I love the inside baseball stuff. We're talking with Mark Allen, pitching coach for University of Illinois. Tell me, as a pitching coach, because the home runs have been an issue, you sit there, what frustrates you more, if guys are missing with walks or watching the ball leave the yard?
Walks, man.
Mm-hmm. Good man.
Yeah, I would. I would not. I would not even like. Now the way they've been hit, dude, this freaking field here, and when the wind's even just sneezing out at all, this place plays like AAA league with Albuquerque and Salt Lake City and Sacramento. Dude, balls jump out of this yard if you catch the right breeze. And I'm not chalking it up to wind. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. We've been up, Scott and Evan, we've been up with some pitches, and a lot of this has to do, and I feel very strongly about it. It has to do with youth. It has to do with youth. It has to do with a bunch of young guys being put in situations that they're not used to, and they're giving it what they got, and they're going to try a little hard at times. And you know what? Some of them are going to be more nervous in situations. Some of them might even have some fear. But the thing is, and this is one, I'm probably the only pitching coach you're ever going to hear say this. And I know Coach Hartland, we got to win, and we get it. And we talk about this all the time. But you know what? In order to be tough, you got to go through some freaking fights, man. You got to get hit in the teeth, and you got to learn. Sometimes bruises and bumps and bruises and cuts are your greatest teachers, and they make you harder. And that's the way that I've looked at this year from the beginning, from interviews from the beginning of this season or before the season till even now. You're watching a bunch of youngsters who don't have a ton of experience get out there and scratch and fight tooth and nail. And you know what? It hadn't been great some of the time. But I tell you what, these kids rally every day. They go right back to work. And, yeah, they're beaten up and they're bruised up a little bit. But I tell you what, they come back and we're trying every week, every day to improve. And so when all this started happening to us, the home runs, Northwestern and all that, the first thing we started doing was working more. That's what we started doing. And, again, it's not always going to be pretty and it's not going to work out. And I'm not saying this past weekend has to do with their work, but I'll guarantee you this, it's got something to do with it. I can promise you that. So, anyway.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to go hit the gym all of a sudden here. We're talking with Mark Allen, Illini pitching coach.
Mark, you talk about the hardships or going through throwing strikes and not getting the best results and what you can get from that. How beneficial is it mentally, not just for the three guys who threw the combined no-hitter, but for the whole pitching staff to see those guys do that on Sunday against a team that put up 20 runs less than a week before?
Man, again, like that's the one thing y'all going to hear come out of my mouth, and I just beat people up with it. Anybody in pro baseball as well, or anybody that knows me, if they ever bring up my name and they know me well, they're going to be like development. That's the word. That's the word, because without it, you can't win. Without it, you can't learn from mistakes and all that stuff. And again, it goes right back to the fighting stuff. So with those guys, y'all said it. We can look at Kirsch. And we can talk about Kirsch and how good he was last year. You know what? There were some things that Kirsch needed to develop on, and that kid has been so committed to sticking with his development. And I had to convince him early on. He wasn't just going to buy what I was telling him because he was successful last year. This is the catch. He didn't miss a lot of sticks, boys. He got a lot of contact out. And the one thing this kid wants to do in his life, he wants to be a professional baseball player. Therefore, you're going to have to give some stuff up in order to get something else. And he would probably be one of the first to tell you, during the fall, he didn't have a great fall. Even during the spring in our inter-squads, he didn't have a whole bunch of great inter-squad games or whatever. But I tell you what, he was throwing harder, he was attacking, his slider was getting better, and his changeup was getting better. And he was gaining confidence in his heater and the ability to miss bat. Now, all of a sudden, he's had some good starts for us, and he's had some ones that hadn't gone his way. But, heck, every pitcher we've got's had that. That's part of it. And now, all of a sudden, you see this cat come out on a Friday night and blank a team right there in a situation like that and then come back again on one day's rest and shut that thing down with runners on, mind you, and punch out 2 of the 3. Somebody's growing. And O'Hara, same thing. Same thing with O'Hara. He came out there on 6 pitches and got those 3 outs and was mindful enough that he knew he had to be at a certain spot because he saw the catcher vacate. There's some growth taking off. If you look at Riley Gowans, you can look at almost every one of Riley Gowans' his outings, and it has been a steady improvement in one way or another. First 2 games he started. I'm sorry, guys. Am I boring y'all with this?
Oh, no.
Not me.
Okay. So his first 2 outings, that guy, he used dang near all his pitches in the first 2 innings. Well, guess what happened after that? He had the first inning where he had a long inning, and then his second, his third, and his fourth was pretty money. And then all of a sudden we wanted to kind of slow him down because he was, he's coming out of the gate and he was using some pitches, and we want to build him up in the right way safely. Now all of a sudden he comes back after we give him a break, and it was his first time to have a clean first inning. Then the next outing, he finally makes his way. He never threw past 4 innings. He never got to the 5th. Then all of a sudden his next outing, he gets through the 5th. And then he gets into the 6th a little bit, I believe. And then this last game, his first time to get into the throw 7 innings at his pitch count. Now, not every one of these is going to be a no-no, boys, okay? but dude, that is the path of development. So it's huge. Evan, to answer your question, it's huge for them to get that experience. It's huge for our other pitchers that didn't even get to pitch, see that thing. Because they know Gowans has struggled. They know Kirsch has struggled. They know that O'Hara has struggled. We're all in the same boat. But those kids ran out there and they just blanked the team, which is extremely hard to do. That's why it's historical. So they all learned something, hopefully. Hopefully.
Mark Allen is with us, the Illini pitching coach. Illinois threw a no-hitter on Sunday. All right, one more I want to throw at you, Mark. And
yes,
this has been great, so I hope we can do this again. But give me your best mound speech. You're guys running into troubles, giving up a couple of walks. I suppose it's different based on the pitcher, but I've never been on a mound speech, been witness to one.
I think that the answer to that is you got to know your kid. That would be the first. So I can't give you one perfect speech or something that's been said. I think you have to know your kid. So with Lavi and Riley, for example, specifically, those are 2 kids that you can go out there with and you can be firm with them. Like, what the heck are you doing? And it may not be heck. Okay, we might cuss out there. I don't know. Okay, so don't y'all, don't get mad at me on that. But there's certain guys. It's just like children. It's just like having your own kids. You're gonna have to treat that youngest one a little different because she's a little more innocent. She doesn't know as much, and as she gets older, though, she earns more responsibility and more respect, and maybe sometimes you got to be a little more firm because she's starting to figure some things out. Might be too big for her britches, so you got to kind of jerk her chain a little bit. So it's just like that. You got to know the personality. Some guys at the time, and the situation's big too. Sometimes you got to pat them on the butt and build them up, and say we're not giving up on you even when you're pulling them. You'll be back out here before you know it. You handle this the right way. All kinds of stuff you can tell them, man. And the biggest thing is it always needs to be positive, and if you do have to hit them with something that's pretty firm, you love them up right after that too, so they know that you're not doubting them. But it can't always be Chariots of Fire or Hallmark cards either. We're also trying to build some good young men that are going to be standout citizens, that are going to stand up in this world and stand up for the right thing. So kind of the same thing. Got to be firm every now and then with discipline every now and then too.
And if it's a situation where you're out there buying a little time, you're going to make a move. Everybody knows you're going to make a move, and the only reason you haven't made the move is because you need some time for 1 or 2 more pitches out there, and you got to wait for the I always wonder what the umpires say. I mean, everybody knows what's coming, but what are you doing when you're buying time? Are you talking about the weather? Are you talking about candlesticks or like Bull Durham? Are you, coaching them up right there?
No, usually, it's kind of like, are you talking about with the infielders, or are you talking about with the pitcher up there too?
Well, yeah, with the pitcher too, with whatever. It's about making a move, but you're not ready to make it yet until... Yeah,
I don't, very seldom, Scott, it's going to sound crazy. I don't have to buy time, dude. I mean, I'm going out there for 2 reasons. The only way I'm going out there to settle a kid down and he's staying in, or I'm going out there to get him. And we're prepared to bring in the next guy. So I've never had to really stall. Now, if I'm standing out there and our pitcher has exited and the infielders are there and we're waiting on the reliever to come in, I'll talk with the infielders. And I'll say something like, hey, dude, stay on your toes, spin, get us out of this. You know what I mean? Like, anticipate, ready for the next one. Support this guy coming in, stay behind him, let him know that you're behind him, stay there, all that kind of stuff. I'm basically just a cheerleader, dude.
That's great. That's great. Well, it was a neat moment for the program, and
Absolutely.
it's something to celebrate. I know it's only one win. Feels like it should be 3 or 4 in one game, but starting to build up something here, and here's to a great second half of the season, Mark, and we really appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you, guys. I appreciate it, Scott. I appreciate it, Evan.
Thanks, Mark.
Evan.
Thanks, Mark.
Evan.